Hey, how's everybody doing today? Today's my last day of physical therapy for my shoulder. I had an arm shoulder surgery back in May, so it's almost been 4 months since surgery, and I immediately started physical therapy the week after, and I was basically doing about 2 days a week of coming in here to Ortho Central. By the way, fantastic people. Every single person that I've worked with here at the physical therapy portion of Ortho Central has been just incredibly fantastic. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I was having a conversation last night as well with my wife, and we were talking about because I tore my rotator cuff, and they had to repair the rotator cuff. They had to stitch it up, and then they had to clean up. I had bone spurs. They had to do some cleanup on. They had to clean up all the gunk and the tissue that was in my I'm going to call it my shoulder cavity. That's probably not the right term, but that's what I'm going to use. So anyways, I had to do that cleanup, and then that put me on the road to recovery, okay? And what's interesting is that after they stitched and my rotator cuff, when that muscle basically healed up, technically I was healed, okay? So I was healed at that point. I had other injuries that I had to also get healed, some soft tissue injuries, things like that also needed to heal. But I was already technically, in a sense, healed. The surgery was completely successful. I wasn't going to continue tearing that rotator cuff. But what's interesting is just because I was healed in that one area, I was not recovered. So, and I think sometimes we think about healing and we think about it being like an instant thing, and we never have to deal with that thing again. We never have to deal with that thing that we've been healed from again. But I believe that sometimes healing is a process, and for me, it's been 4 months, but even more so, it's been 12 months. It's been about 12 months, a full year since I injured this thing. And when I injured it, I went through a process where I couldn't utilize my arm strength. I would go to the gym and I'd try to lift the dumbbell 35, 45 pounds, and I'd literally get to a certain part and my shoulder would just say, no, we're not done. It ain't even about muscle fatigue. It's just like, something mechanically is not going to allow you to lift that. So I was in a part where I couldn't carry weight the way that I used to be able to carry weight. Okay, and I'm talking about muscle strength, not the other way. We'll work on that. But some of us, when we get hurt, we suffer a trauma, and this was a muscle trauma in my body. When we deal with and we suffer a trauma, we get to a part where we aren't able to carry the load we used to be able to carry, and that's okay. That's our body telling us that, hey, there's something wrong that needs to be corrected. Funny is, I was talking to my doctor, and she said, the thing is that when we injure ourselves, when we have some type of trauma that happens, especially in my case with this muscle not being able to perform the way it was, we develop a muscle imbalance. And this muscle imbalance over time actually causes more harm than good. You think that your other muscles start to have to overcompensate or have to do other things in order to carry the load that one specific muscle was meant to carry. But because it's injured, because it's suffered trauma, it's been injured, it can't do it. And so now other muscles have to compensate. And over time, that muscle imbalance begins to wear other things out in your body. And it blew my mind, because she said, not only do you get healed, and they fix the root cause, then you got to heal these soft tissue issues or other things like that. But then, like right now, for the past months, I've been trying to restore and fix this muscle imbalance that I've had in my life. How many times do you go through trauma, or you go through a situation, and number one, you got to get healed of it, okay? You can't just stay stuck and allow that thing to keep you there, keep that, whatever that trauma or that injury or what it was in your life. And this applies to a broad swath. I don't generally like generalities and applying a broad brush, but I'm applying a broad brush to this. How many times have we allowed an injury or a traumatic event or a traumatic situation or something that's happened to our in our life or something that's happened to us to get us stuck, and we get to the part where we feel like we'll never be the same. We're never going to utilize that muscle group. We're never going to be able to carry weight or carry that load the way that we used to be able to. And we sometimes can just give up. If I hadn't had shoulder surgery, and there's a story behind that, and it got put off and it got held back, and it was disappointing because I thought I was going to get healed, but I didn't get healed at the time I thought I was getting healed. And I'm rambling, and I don't want to ramble too much. But listen, you got to get to a part where you can get to a place where you allow someone to do whatever it takes to perform the healing and let there be healing. Now, I'm not just talking about spiritual healing and God being a healer, but sometimes we have to have a physical scalpel to go in and clear out some of that stuff and help work on that imbalance that's built up because of the trauma that happened. So for the past 4 months, trying to get back to where I was at, I was healed. The soft tissue was healing. But I've been trying to correct the imbalance in my body, particularly with my shoulder, because it had been overcompensating for the past 12 months to try to take care of my body, try to take care of things that I couldn't do before. And so that happens in real life. That happens to us when we experience trauma, when we experience these things that impact us. Sometimes we aren't overcompensating, and that's why we get burned out and exhausted. And so for the past 4 months, I've been trying to strengthen my muscles. I've been trying to correct behaviors that my body started doing to overcompensate because it needed to. And so I've had to go back and correct and learn again and readjust on how it's doing specific movements. And man, that applies to us as well. How many times have we been stuck, hurt, start having to just do whatever to accommodate or try to adjust to compensate because of injury or whatever. Anyway, I'm saying it takes a while to build back and go back and fix those things that we've dealt with. And so this is my last day. Today was my last day of actually coming into the shop because I had to get someone to help me. Listen, that'll preach on its own. I couldn't fix myself. I couldn't do these things on my own. I could have Googled and I could have researched and I could have learned. I could have been knowledgeable in it. But there's certain movements and when it came to stretching out my arm and getting into positions where it needed to be, things I couldn't do. I couldn't do that on my own. I had to get some help and have somebody help me. Not just anybody. I had to get somebody knowledgeable about the situation, and they were the ones who were able to help me get to where I needed to be. Listen, we got to get help. And we got to have people help us to get to that part. But now that it's been 4 months, they're like, okay, now we know that you need to continue strengthening, continue resolving this muscle imbalance, but we're going to send you home with some homework. And so on your own, you're going to have to keep doing this. So my first thought was, I'm done with PT, I'm done with therapy, I'm good. But the thing is this, I can do this stuff again. I've got my flexibility, I've got some strength, but it still hurts, which means there's still work to do. I still feel that I'm losing my phone. I still feel that pinch, but I've gotten some motion back. I'm able to carry some load again, but it doesn't mean I've forgotten about the trauma that's there. So listen, as we're healing and as we're recovering from these traumas and these things that have happened in our life, it doesn't mean that we just gonna instantly forget about it and we don't remember those things anymore. If I reach over this way, I'm gonna feel it, but I know that I can carry some more weight. I can carry some more load. I'm not debilitated because of that injury has been healed. I'm still growing and fixing some things and recovering, but I'm not stuck. And then every time I feel that arm pain, and I'll be honest, when I first started, again, I'm rambling, I apologize. But when I first started, I would do a certain movement and I instantly get fearful that I'm going to tear this again. Oh, I'm about to have this injury again. I'm not going to be able to do this. But it took a while to mentally get to the part where I realized that I was strong enough. And I remember asking the doctor, I said, can I do this certain movement? Is it going to be, if I do this, is this going to tear? And she's like, no, it's healed. It's healed to the part where it's not going to tear if you do some movement. Now, you still have to be careful because your muscles aren't doing what they're supposed to do. They're not strong. They've been compensating other ways that you can hurt yourself or hurt something else because some other compensation. But you just have to take your time and build it. And that's another thing, man. This is 9 minutes in. I apologize, but listen, there's so much to unpack here. We got to take our time and come out of these traumatic events as we're strengthening ourselves and moving forward. It takes time. We can't rush it. If we rush it, we can hurt ourselves, and we'll be back in that traumatic event, have another surgery, have another whatever it is, have another episode. So we can't rush it. But we have to take active steps in order to bring about change. And we got to get help with it sometimes. You got to find someone who can help you do it. You got to have someone knowledgeable, someone who's in your corner, who's rooting for you. Man, I think, here's another thought. Sometimes we get caught up with people who are in the exact same circumstance that we are in, and instead of helping to push each other to get out of those situations, we pull each other back down and we stay on that same level. We're not able to get free of the trouble, the trauma we're in, because we surrounded ourselves who aren't looking to help propel us forward, but they just want to keep us in the same spot. If I had just been around a bunch of people who had shoulder injuries and they weren't getting therapy, and we just want to complain about how bad our shoulders were and how painful it was and how we used to be able to do this and we couldn't do that. And listen, don't get me wrong. It's okay to have a session or talk to people who have been through the same thing, but we can't get stuck there where we're just stuck and we can't move forward. We have to make steps. We've got to we got to do something to move forward and to get past the trauma. Again, you can't rush it. Your timeline may not be my timeline. My timeline may not be your timeline. Someone may recover from this shoulder injury in 2 weeks and out there shooting hoops or knocking zingers out of the park. That's not me, okay? I'm back to barely playing bass. And so the thing is but we have to make some concerted type of effort to move forward. And I encourage you, don't get stuck. Move forward. Let's not just... We're healed. My complete healing hasn't occurred. I still got another 2-3 months before there's certain things they said, don't be trying to throw a baseball or shoot a basketball with my left hand, or something like that. So around 6 months, that's when you can start working on that and continue to add weight and continue to do these exercises. That's what I want to get to. So we'll continue doing that. But listen, so I'm done with the in-person visits of PT, but I've got homework to do at home. They feel that I'm at a point right now where I'm strong enough, I am stable enough, these muscles, that I can continue this work at home. And the process and the purpose of this is to continue fixing this muscle imbalance, to continue fixing all these things that are occurring. Oh, I think I messed up my brightness here. So it's not that I'm, that's way bright. I'm sorry, y'all. But it's not that I'm done with the work. The process isn't complete. The healing is taking place. The healing's complete. But now there's other things that I'm working through. There are other things that I'm working on in order to get to the man that I'm looking forward to being. I can't wait to see when I look back a year from now and see the progress I've made. I mean, look what I could do. I could reach behind my neck. I couldn't put my seatbelt on, guys. I was struggling putting on my belt, and I need a belt. But looking back at how far I've come, that's encouraging. And I want to encourage you in this, and I'll drop off this 13 minutes. I apologize again. Man, so many times we look way into the future at what we expect ourselves to be and where we expect to do or our recovery. But I think sometimes it's easy to, as we're taking those steps forward, to look back in the rearview mirror and see how far we've come. And realizing that we're not in the same place we were when that trauma occurred. We're not in that same spot we were when that injury happened. Whether this is someone injured you, whether you were in a situation that whatever it is, we're not in that same spot as long as we're moving forward. Don't get stuck and caught and remain in the same place. But man, let's take steps to move forward. I'm so thankful for the people who've helped me these past 4 months and my family. And man, I'm thankful. I'm so appreciative. I know my healing happened, but I'm still on the road to recovery. I'm still on the road to correct some things that are out of balance. But we can do it. This is for you today. Whatever you're dealing with, again, this is a broad brush. Apply it how you need to apply it in your life. You can make it. Just take those positive and those good steps forward, and don't stay stuck. All right. Love you guys. Sorry for the long bit. No, I ain't sorry for it. Hopefully it blesses somebody. And if it does, give it a share. All right. Bye-bye.